हेलो फ्रेंड्स, केजी क्लासेस में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम आपको एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ इम्परफेक्ट सिंपैथी बाय चार्ल्स लैम्ब। फर्स्ट है दैट द ऑथर से लेकर के अनहेल्दी एक्सेस। पैरा सेकंड, रेफरेंस एंड कॉन्टेक्स्ट। इन हिज एसेज इम्परफेक्ट सिंपैथीज, लैम्ब्स expresses his disappointment at Sir Thomas Browne's inability to look deeper into the real differences between nations in general. Sir Thomas Browne, in his Religio Medici, says that he is without any dislikes for anybody in the world. He does not have any prejudice against any person, whether he is French, Italian, Spaniard or Dutch. Explanation. Commenting on Sir Thomas Browne's observation, Lamb says that the author of Religio Medici lived in the philosophical world of mere abstract ideas. He had nothing to do with earthly conception of things. Sir Thomas Browne was well informed with ideas which depend on guesswork and were merely conceptual. What could be possible was more important to him than the actual. Therefore, he ignored altogether of races of human beings. But according to Lamb, such an attitude cannot be appreciated. It is rather surprising that Sir Thomas Browne, being himself a human being, should have been able to distinguish human being from other animals. Speaking of himself, Lamb says that as against the ethereal attitude of Sir Thomas Browne, his is an earthly attitude. He is a creature of senses. He does not move in the airy world of imagination. He cannot look upon the different sorts of people without feeling something. Being a human being, this is a victim to sympathy, aversion, antipathy, and practically all common human emotions. He has all sorts of likings and dislikings about all human beings. Lamb feels that his likings and dislikings have gone to such an extent that it leads to unhealthy notions. नेक्स्ट है देयर इंटेलेक्चुअल वार्ड्रॉप से लेकर के अगेन वेनिंग। पैरा थर्ड, while referring to the defect of the Scot in his essay Imperfect Sympathies, Lamb speaks of their big brains. He says that he has been trying all his life to like Scotsmen, but his attempts have resulted in despair. The Scotchmen are plain sort of fellows and can be recognized at the first sight, but minds of people like him are suggestive rather than comprehensive. They have no pretense to much clearness or precision in their ideas or in their manner of expressing them. Lamb here portrays the defective minds of anti-Caledonians. The minds of such people do not grasp things all at once. They are not able to see the full face of truth of things. Truth never exhibits her complete self to the Englishman. A profile or a feature is what she presents. According to Lamb, the English are a careless nation, while the Scots are fond of complete ideas and whole truths. The English remains content with halves. They try to discover the whole truth in the beginning only, but they are not interested in a long continued search. They are like those foresters who only beat the drums and start the animal and leave the work of hunting to others. So the Englishmen think up ideas, but they do not pursue them up to the end and leave them to other mind who complete them. Their brain raise some problems but leave them to better minds to solve them. It is because their brains are not steady like the pole star. They are always beavering and shifting. Their ideas, therefore, are always liable to change. As is customary with Lamb, he uses interesting metaphors to explain his point. He compares the mind to a wardrobe. The English mind is full, ill furnished. It has very few whole pieces. In the same way, the English mind has been compared to a hunter who beats up his drum to get at an animal. But Lamb utters these words not merely to show his modesty but to caricature the Scotch people who assert their perfect knowledge. Their penness is a symbol of the bluntness of their intellect. नेक्स्ट है द ब्रेन्स ऑफ से लेकर के द क्लॉक वर्क पैरा थर्ड. Lamb gives a wonderful portraiture of the Scottish mind. Lamb says that minds of the pupil are suggestive and not comprehensive, but the mind of a Scotch is full of complete ideas and whole truths, while the anti-Caledonian mind is fond of half-truth and expresses ideas that are amateur and crude. The true Scotch will always present his ideas wholesale. Lamb remarks about the brains of the Scotchmen that they do not develop gradually, but they are perfect from their very birth. In this, their brains are different from the brains of other people. Their brains are well formed and perfectly mature, like the Roman goddess of wisdom, Minerva, who sprung from the head of Jupiter not as an infant but as a full-grown woman wearing complete suit of armor. Lamb means to say that we are never allowed to have a look at the process of development of ideas in Scotch brain. We can only come to know the ideas of the Scotchman when they are placed before us in a complete order. The ideas are never composed by putting all together fragments of truths in the manner of the clockwork. The different parts of a clock are arranged mechanically, but the Scotchman refrains from building up their ideas in such an order. This prevents us from having a glimpse at the real development of their ideas. When we at last are fortunate enough to know their ideas, we find them complete without a sign of their early beginnings. नेक्स्ट है यू नेवर कैच से लेकर के फॉल अपॉन हिम पैरा थर्ड है. इन्हें जैसे इम्परफेक्ट सिंपैथीज लैम्ब गिव्स ए वंडरफुल portraits of the Scottish mind. Lamb says that while the anti-Caledonian mind is fond of half-truth and expresses ideas that are immature and crude, the true Scotch will always present his ideas wholesale. The brains of the Scotchman are well formed and perfectly mature, like the Roman goddess of wisdom, Minerva, who sprang from the head of Jupiter not as an infant but as a full-grown woman wearing complete suit of armor. Lamb observes about the mind of the Scotchman that it does not allow anyone to peep into it to see an idea in the making. In other words, the Scotchman never shows himself before thinking out a complete idea. He never gives any hint or suggestion but brings forth his ideas in a complete form. A typical Scotchman always makes a full display of his ideas. He would never keep back any portion of his ideas in any gathering but would unveil all his knowledge. Lamb further says that in contrast to the ordinary Englishman who usually suggest and hint at ideas, and typical Scotchman would never stoop to guess at things and share views with others before being fully certain about the things. Nobody can accept to share ideas with him. He does not find his ideas, but he presents them in their entirety before others. Therefore, he is never seen in any suspicion or doubt about his ideas. His understanding is always at its highest point of maturity. The earliest development of his ideas is never seen. There is no room of any conjectures, doubts, apprehensive of things, undeveloped conception and other such things in his ideas. Doubt never overshadows his certainty. Here Lamb very beautifully and metaphorically describes the brain of the Scotchman. According to him, the Scotchmen are impatient of any suggestion from others. They are never prepared to share views with others, for they do not entertain any doubt or suspicion about the truthfulness and maturity of their own ideas. There is, however, an undercurrent of irony in the whole description. नेक्स्ट है बिटवीन द अफर्मेटिव से लेकर के ऑफ एन ऑथ, पैरा थर्ड से लिया गया. Lamb gives an interesting description of the mind of the Scotchman. He says that Scotchman never hints or suggests anything, but he brings the whole stock of his ideas all at once. His knowledge is always about him. His understanding is always at its meridian. The twilight of duty never falls upon him. He is neither conservative in his views nor a disbeliever in his thoughts and ideas. Lamb observes about the Scotchmen that they either believe or disbelieve in things. They have no middle path between the absolute negative and the affirmative. They know only two things, the right and the wrong. There can be nothing like half truth or half wrong in the opinion of the Scotchman. Nobody can convince him that his ideas may be partially right or wrong. He always believes in the extreme and not in any golden mean. He obstinately follows his own path. Nobody can make him wander from the point which is being discussed, because he feels that he is always on the right path. His tastes never vary and his sense of right and wrong he cannot right and wrong always holds ground. He cannot come to any compromise or conciliation between two extremes. The things can be either right or wrong. There can be nothing in between. Then Lamb finally observes that the statement of the Scotchman are as authentic as a book. His affirmation have the purity of solemn declaration or oath. In other words, whatever the Scotchman says, he says it with full authority. नेक्स्ट है यू मस्ट स्पीक से लेकर के अप्लाइड टू ए बुक, पैरा थर्ड से लिया गया. Lamb gives an interesting description of the mind of the Scotchman. He says that a Scotchman never hints or suggests anything, but he brings the whole stock of his ideas all at once. His knowledge is always about him. His understanding is always at its meridian. His ideas are either right or wrong. There is no scope of any middle path. He feels that he is always on the right path. His statements are as authentic as a book. Here Lamb mentions the strange tendency of the Scotchman to interpret everything to literary. He is very straightforward in his understanding. He believes in speaking the plainest language, as he is afraid to use metaphors, for metaphors, as is well known, must involve indirect expression and juxtapositions of words, which are detested by the Scotchman. So, whenever a Scotchman is on the point of using a metaphor in his conversation, he stops abruptly. He treats a metaphor in conversation as a spy in an enemy's country. Lamb mentioned an interesting incident. Once he happened to refer to Thomas Amory's book John Buncle as a healthy book in the presence of a Scotchman. The Scotsman was greatly alarmed at the epithet used for the book. He remarked that he had heard of a healthy man or of a healthy body, but never of a healthy book. He squarely objected to the use of the epithet healthy to a book. The Scotchman did so because he understood only the literal meaning of the words. The dull-minded Scotchman could not follow the metaphorical implication of the expression. नेक्स्ट है पर्सन्स ऑफ दिस नेशन से लेके सब्जेक्ट ऑफ डिस्पुटेशंस. पैरा थर्ड. In his essays, Imperfect Sympathies, Lamb throw light on some peculiar traits of the character of the Scotchman. In his opinion, these people never hint or suggest anything, but they bring the whole stock of ideas all at once. Their knowledge is always about them. Their understanding is always at its meridian. The Scotchmen are interested in speaking the plainest language, as they are afraid of using metaphors. Their intellect is blunt. Lamb here remarks that the Scotchmen are so fond of truth that they believe that whatever they say cannot be doubted or disputed by others. They do not so much affirm their statement as declare them solemnly. They love truth so much that there remains no doubt about the nature of truth. The Scotchman cannot distinguish between various kinds of truth. They love truth for its own sake. All truth is equally valuable in their consideration, whether the matter about which truth is spoken is old or new, or it has been a matter of controversy. But the Scotchmen do not entertain any kind of controversy. They have their own firm notion about truth. In their opinion, everything is truth. नेक्स्ट स्पीक ऑफ स्मोलेट से लेकर के हमफ्रे क्लिंकर. पैरा थर्ड. Lamb tells about the Scotchmen that they do not like to use metaphors in their language, as they are always fond of truth. Anything that sounds a bit false earns their disrespect. This prevents them from enjoying a joke. They have no sense of humor, as they do not understand subtle expression. In these lines, Lamb says that it is rather difficult to speak admirably about Smollett to the Scotchmen. They will at once retort by mentioning Hume's history, which was completed by Smollett. The Scotchman will compare Hume's composition with the portion added by Smollett, and thus prove that Smollett was after all inferior to the great philosopher. Lamb fancies what would have been the case had Hume set on the task of continuing Humphrey Clinker. If Hume had started continuing the novel, he would certainly have failed as a novelist. His portion of composition would never have equaled that of Smollett. He may be superior as a philosopher, but must be far inferior as a novelist. Lamb means to say that the Scotchmen do not realize that a successful novelist cannot essentially be a successful historian. Tobias Smollett was the Scottish novelist whose famous novels include Roderick Random and Humphrey Clinker. Rory is the diminutive name of Roderick Random. Companion is Strap. Smollett completed Hume's History of England after his death. As Smollett was not a historian, his work is certainly inferior to that of Hume. नेक्स्ट है ओल्ड प्रिजुडिसेस से लेकर के सो डेडली ए डिसयूनियन. पैरा फोर्थ इन हिज ऐसे इम्परफेक्ट सिंपैथी लैम्ब सेज दैट इन जनरल ही फील्स नो कंटेम्प्ट फॉर द ज्यूस. अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम द ज्यूस क्लिंग stubbornly to their past. He would not, however, like to be in familiar intercourse with this community. Expressing his views about the Jews, Lamb says that he cannot get rid of old prejudice about the Jews. Christians have centuries-old prejudices against this race. Whenever Lamb talks of the Jews, he is irresistibly reminded of the story of Hugh of Lincoln. According to this story, the Jews stole a Christian boy and tortured him and finally crucified him. There has been a long history of bloodshed, contempt and hatred between the Christians and the Jews. Lamb cannot forget hatred, cruelty and insults of the Christians towards the Jew, and hypocrisy, meanness and hatred of the Jews toward the Christians. These feelings have been continuing from generation to generation. Lamb now cannot believe that there can be any kind of clear and kind relationship between these two races. A few friendly words of politeness, love or even attitudes of modernity will not be able to bridge the gulf between the two. Lamb means to say that the feelings of injury, hatred and misunderstanding are bound to exist between the Jew and the Christian. नेक्स्ट है हिज नेशन से लेकर के इनस्क्रूटेबल आइस. पैरा 4 से लिया गया. Lamb expresses his distaste for the Jews. In his opinion, the Jews killing stubbornly to their past. His relationship with the Jews is marred by the memory of the long history of bloodshed in which both the Jews and the English were involved. This mutual contempt and sense of injury between these two races cannot be wiped off by formal expressions of courtesy. Here Lamb makes the Jews the objects of a satire. He says that they do not generally have intelligent faces. The reason, according to Lamb, is that the Jews by nature are very clever and shrewd. There is seldom a silly expression on their faces. They are ceaselessly hankering after money. This unquenched hunger of money makes their countenance hard and feelingless. An idiot is rarely heard to be born in the race of the Jews. Lamb also warns those who are easily impressed by the beautiful features of Jewish women. According to Lamb, Jewish women may be beautiful, but they are callous and cruel. He himself is very much afraid of them. He gives an example of a Jewish woman named Jewel who possessed fascinating eyes and attractive features, but she was so cruel in her heart that very treacherously she killed Sisera, the captain of the army of Cananas, while he was sleeping in his tent. Therefore, Lamb cautions those who are fond of Jewish female physiognomy. Lamb himself admires Jewish women, but at the same time he is greatly afraid of them. नेक्स्ट है आई लव क्वेकर से लेकर कैन डू विदाउट पैरा 6 लैम एक्सप्रेसेस दिस डिसलाइक अगेंस्ट द रेस ऑफ द ज्यूज इन हिज ओपिनियन दे आर ऑर्थोडॉक्स एंड श्रूड इवन देयर ब्यूटीफुल वुमेन आर treacherous and cruel. However, Lamb finds simplicity in Negro faces. He would like to deal gently with them, but he is not ready to share his days with these people because they are black. In these lines, Lamb admires Quaker ways and their principles. Their ways go well with his nature. He feels pleasure when he meets any Quaker. He does him good for the whole day if he meets a Quaker in the morning. Not only this, but the sight, the quiet speech of a Quaker lift up a load from his bosom. But he cannot live with them. It is so because he has habits entirely different from those of Quakers. His thoughts, ideas, hobbies, whims, etc. are modern. He is a lover of books, pictures, treats, gossips, scandals, jokes and many other such things. But a Quaker is very simple in his taste and likings. He is devoid of humor, taste and hobbies of Lamb. He is an admirer of the base of Quakers. He would not like to live like them. नेक्स्ट है अ क्वेकर एज बाई ला से लेकर ऑफ दिस डिस्टिंक्शन पैरा 7 while speaking of the Quakers, Lamb observes that the manner of replying indirectly is the usual practice among the Quakers. It is due to their tendency to evade questions. The Quakers are always on their guard when they speak and are very cautious of committing themselves. Their standpoint is always dependent on their truthfulness. Lamb says about the Quakers that they always make a show of their truthfulness. Even the law exempt them from taking an oath before giving their evidence in the court. It is because they enjoy a reputation of being truthful and possessing high sense of morality. The custom of taking oath makes an ordinary man conscious of two types of truth. One is applicable to the solemn proceeding of the court of law where a man is required to speak only the truth. The only may be resorted to in day-to-day affairs. The one is absolute truth, the other is half truth or partial truth. In ordinary affairs of life, oath is not needed. This impression gives the common notion that the traders, the merchants, the householders and other such people are not required to speak an oath, but partial truth if not falsehood. Hence a lot of incorrectness verging on falsehood may be seen in our daily transactions. Something less than truth is sufficient as there is freedom to deviate from what may be called oath truth. A Quaker makes no distinction between these two truths because he is always conscious that his words are always considered as truth by others. He always speaks as if he were speaking an oath. He is always conscious that he is speaking in the presence of other people, and so he weighs his words with proper assiduity. Thanks, best of luck.